The Secret of Dolphins, 24th of the 9th, 1997. Translated by Rua Ezekiel. Narrated by Daniel King. By Eleazar Harash. Second idea for contemplation. Further in time, if the Master allows it, I will tell you about the secret life of bees too, of mice even, etc., of all kinds of beings from the other kingdom. The main thing you must remember is that dolphins are human beings from old times, reincarnated people who originate from one proto-old humankind. Of this humankind I will not speak today. I have another idea. They chose to live in the water, which for their souls is one peculiar city. The sea is one invisible and rich field for them to work. They are people, according to the occult science, who have realized within themselves one high ideal. It happened during the times of the proto-old humankind. All of this seems like a fairy tale, but do not be fooled, because the Master says that the fairy tale is a method of truth. And when he says what the most truthful thing is, he says that this is the fairy tale. The Master says that the most truthful thing is the fairy tale. Not the greatest, not the sweetest, not the fastest. Everything is put in its place. In this case, he speaks about the most truthful thing. That is the fairy tale. Dolphins are spiritually happy beings because they have preserved within themselves the joyful nature of their past. I will explain to you later where their joyfulness originates from. According to the Master, the cruelest world, this is the sea. In the sea live the cruelest beings. In one world of a deep astral sea, the matter is of the external sea as well, which is infected by cruelty. Dolphins are calm, honest, and responsive. From another angle of the occult science, dolphins are also spiritual symbols, and unusual such symbols. For the world of the sea, they symbolize one hidden and concealed symbolism of the inexhaustible hope, and the sea for them is a symbolic paradise. They live in it, and after it they enter into their paradise again, in which they have always lived. On this matter, the Master says that if paradise is not within you, here on earth, you will never enter into it, regardless which world you go to. The person must carry things inside themselves. According to the occult science, for the dolphins, no purgatory is necessary. They jump over this pit. They have solved this matter as souls in their past. They have escaped purgatory because they have come to know their way, their Tao. A person who knows their secret and their past very easily becomes their brother, even though they live in the heavy life of the sea. They are liberated from death. The matter is of spiritual death as well. They have no concern about death. They do not even have a fear of death because they have understood the way of self self-renunciation and sacrifice. They have no fear of death. Precisely self-renunciation has turned into their joyfulness, and of course into gracefulness. They carry within themselves a secret celebration, something which each person should also carry within themselves. When the dolphins begin to love someone, they bestow them with their joyfulness, which originates from self-renunciation, and with their presence. They shine from the knowing of the law of joy, but this, in fact, is the law of self-renunciation itself. This is why, according to occult science, they are children of joy, and they have remained children. But they have a greater future, because in time it is determined that they will meet not trainers but initiates, who will take care of their souls in order to lead them into deeper secrets of being and of life. Of course, joy of a different kind awaits them there, of a different dimension, which will originate not from self-renunciation, but from wisdom. This is why the Master says that in the life of the disciple there is something deeper than self-renunciation. Of course, further in time I may explain two things to you, which the dolphins have not understood, but I have not planned this in this lecture. Dolphins reached self-sacrifice, and they still do not know that it is a mystical way towards something deeper, immeasurable, a way towards one secret of life, into which they will be introduced by initiates in the occult sciences. When the dolphin dies in the external field, it retains its exceptionally pleasant feeling. This pleasant feeling is one of the biggest powers of nature. This is its habit from the humankind from time ago. Death cannot touch this feeling. It does not allow this, because it carries completeness within itself. The other important moment about the deep consciousness and soul of the dolphins is the following. When the dolphin dies, it considers that another, more supreme world pays its great attention to it, and the dolphin's concealed consciousness understands this, and this is why the dolphin is filled with a very pleasant feeling, and simultaneously with awe. The dolphin understands that the sea has abandoned it, and that a more supreme world, a wiser world, has called it to itself. Because the dolphin understands this, it preserves its pleasant feeling after death too, i.e., it is not interrupted, because the dolphin has solved the law of sacrifice. In the completeness of this pleasant feeling, the dolphin is absolutely incapable of fearing death. For the dolphin, death is still a surprise, one small, pleasant surprise. This pleasant feeling was developed in the past through self-sacrifice, and it has turned into paradise for the dolphins. 8th of the 10th, 1997. The Secret of Dolphins, continuation. Second idea for contemplation. So, one more lecture at the most. I will continue about them. And in time, if the Master allows me to, I will tell you. If he gives me a pathway. I will tell you more about the secret life of other animals too. For example, of mice, of bees, of sheep, etc. All beings of the White Brotherhood, especially bees, cows, sheep, servants of the White Brotherhood. When the dolphin dies, it suddenly sees that it has no strength for life in the water anymore. It sees that it can no longer swim in it, and then it enters into its pleasant feeling, into its voidness. After it understands that it cannot move in the water, it perceives this as one unusual revelation, because it is a selfless being. But the deeper secret of the voidness is not known to it. In this regard, there are many masters too, who think that when you attain the voidness, that is the final limit. But the master places things on another level, in another area. The voidness is not the final limit, because behind it there are other degrees of wisdom, other levels. So, the secret of the voidness is not known to the dolphin, because it has reached to the law of sacrifice at most. And the master says that there are higher laws than the law of sacrifice or the law of loyalty. It's selfless love. The matter is of the love of the dolphin, illuminates it on the inside, and this is why it experiences its stillness as a pleasant feeling. And because this feeling is very deep, it enters into the voidness. And, by the way, because in Sophia I saw that many people wish, on the last lecture, that we spoke more often of animals from an occult point of view, not from a scientific one. This is why I think that we will have the opportunity to reveal things about many animals, including animals of all kinds which are simultaneously servants of both the White and the Black Brotherhood, because there is true desire to know. And I sometimes need just one sincerity, one person, one soul to want it more deeply, so that we can speak on these matters. Two are many, so I think that on these matters we will speak more and more. Here I will tell you a few things about the body of the dolphin. The head of the dolphin symbolizes mastery and understanding of the underwater knowledge and secrets of life. The body of the dolphin is built dynamically, i.e., built by dynamic supreme powers in its composition. Supreme beings have taken part. The tail is another key, which means, on the one hand, an additional steering wheel, a guide, and on the other hand, additional dynamic for its swiftness. All of this means that we are not speaking of an ordinary being and an ordinary body. Death cannot sadden it. I will explain why. Because the Tao in the dolphin is natural, and the Tao does not allow the dolphin to be saddened. And this is why, in the moment when the dolphin becomes sad, it immediately and very naturally starts to become joyful. And I emphasize this word again, naturally, a very deep word. Through the power of self-renunciation, the dolphin becomes familiar with the beauty of its self-dependence. Here, I want to explain something very important to you, which dolphins have understood from their past. from the humankind of old times. From their experience in the past, dolphins have understood something very essential. They have come to the conclusion that the deepest means of communion is sacrifice and silence, and in a very deep sense they are right. This understanding is one small feat. Many souls must do this, must attain this, but not all. Why? Because many souls can perish in the sphere of silence, i.e., the ones who have not reached the completeness of sacrifice may perish in the sphere of silence. In this regard, I will say also that silence is a very deep part of the concealed and sacred essence of the souls. Here, the matter is specifically of the human souls, including the dolphins. According to the dolphins and their experience, when something very important must be said, then the silence must be the strongest. This is a sacred moment in their life. Here I want to explain to you that according to the occult science, silence is an occult method. It is a most important moment for the awakening of the secretive internal activity of the souls. And the life of the dolphins is the life of the souls, the life of silence. They have chosen this way, which is also a way towards the supreme life. The deep and exceptional essence of the souls cannot be expressed with words, with talking, even with movements, but only with silence, which is one of the deepest forces of life. Here I am using the word force of nature, because I have something in mind. In the deepest silence, one soul standing before another soul, the matter is of a soul who has known the secret of silence. Then they can transmit internal secrets to each other in silence, which cannot happen with speech, and in many cases should not happen. This is why I said the force of silence. This has another meaning as well. And this is why in the Taoist teaching it is said that the state of non-being of Tao always remains beyond the boundaries of everything spoken. So here we are specifically speaking of the state of non-being, because Tao has its sphere in the state of non-being, its transformation. But here I must say something else. Here we are speaking of the reasonable word, of a person who has mastered themselves, etc. And when Tao instills itself in the word of the person, they become a son of Tao, and Tao becomes their way. This is for the ones who have achieved mastery over themselves through loyalty. Dolphins are beings who have aimed internally into themselves to find there, in silence, ways of communicating, and they have found them. The matter is of ways to communicate with people and with beings of all different kinds, and ways of understanding the world in which they live, and of its secrets. And finally, the dolphin is a being of the finer energy, and the finer energy, according to the occult science, is, remember, the true hearing of the soul. Here I am not speaking of the heart, I am not speaking of the ear, but I am speaking of the finest energy which has to do with the finest area of the heart, and there is also one area which surpasses the heart. 22nd of the 10th, 1997. The Secret of Dolphins continued. Second idea for contemplation. In speaking, many people have lost their soul, their divinity, their individuality. This means that speaking is a big responsibility, and this is something that dolphins have given up on. The dolphins have come to the conclusion the matter is of their secret consciousness. By the way, some time ago, I observed the secret consciousness of one dolphin. I will only tell you briefly, without going into detail. I saw that the dolphin observed some people who were talking about it, and simultaneously they were speaking. I will use this word, nonsense, a lot of ordinary things, very earthly things. The dolphin was wondering how could people waste their time, their energy and their speech to talk in such a way. This was one true marvelling, and simultaneously with the dolphin, this was mixed with an amazement of life itself. There was no criticism, because its consciousness is much deeper. As we shall see, in time, for many other beings of this kind, who have their secret consciousness, a concealed one, which observes and does not bring things out. There are such scientists, adepts, in the true science, who make exceptional discoveries, but they do not say anything. They give other discoveries to the world, because the world is not ready, and they keep the essence for themselves. They are true initiates, of whom the Master has spoken, but still few. They remain concealed anyway. According to the dolphins, according to their secret consciousness, the deep things are judged based on their silence, based on their invisible essence. With this, I want to say to you that silence belongs to the unknown intention of the concealed supreme will. It is actually a big science, according to the Master, of which we shall speak in time. We have spoken, and we shall speak again. The original relations of the souls were relations of silence, and dolphins hint of this past, and of this lost richness. The soul of the dolphin has come to the world of the sea, in order to converse with its destiny. In knowing the secret of silence, the human soul draws closer and closer to the truth, to its God, to its inexhaustible source. Before I continue, I will only remind you, I have hinted it some time ago, that as a whole, when you are talking to people, you must observe, not so much what you are talking about in particular, but that inner dialogue which happens between the souls, that speech without words. It shows whether you will understand each other, whether you should trust each other, and how to approach, how to help. I want to say that this invisible speech on the inside of the souls is more important than anything that is being said. Sometimes it is nice to reaffirm things with both speech and silence, for both speeches to be in unity, but very often it so happens that the external shows that the internal has another opinion, and that paths diverge. And by the way, in recent days, when we were looking for a few community reading centres we visited, as soon as we started speaking, it became clear that there is prejudice, that we are a sect. It has been infected by the newspapers, by many other things, and when people do not have their opinion, they rush to close a door and to say it is dangerous, without knowing that danger will come from another place. Here, I do not have the idea of criticism, of judging. I am only reminding. I want to say that many people are enslaved by fears, by prejudice, and they do not even want to listen. Like in this auditorium, the new headmistress, she does not even want to listen. She wants to run away. But we are grateful, because we know that for us it gets better and better. I have inexhaustible ways and possibilities for our gatherings, even when they become strictly forbidden. Even by the state, imposed by law, I have a few ways for us to get together. But I have not reached this extremity to speak of them. It is simply not necessary. I want to tell you that we simply have many possibilities, and no one can stop us. Occult possibilities are richer, and this is why, uncoincidentally, many people have feared occultism, because it gives richer possibilities, and all kinds of them, for penetration and for understanding the moves of both the state and the laws, etc. The true life of the dolphins is realized in their soul, i.e., in the invisible field of the soul. The speech of one person cannot tell us anything if they do not know their soul, and if they do not live according to the laws of their soul. The dolphin is one symbolic means for expressing the soul and its richness, silence. For the dolphin, the internal life of the soul is more important than anything external. And at the same time, it has not renounced the external life, but it has turned its external life into a manifestation, into its own manifestation, i.e., into its own sacrifice. For the dolphin, what is essential is in the internal interaction, and for the dolphin, it is the internal interaction which preserves the life of the soul. When the soul of the dolphin listens to something in a deep way, it is because of the internal, because of the invisible. And when the soul of the dolphin listens to the sea in a deeper way, and when it hears something, that is the soul's eye, you know that if you end up in the sea and you look, you are able to see up to 20, 30, 50 meters, at the most 100 meters. But the far away dangers, the far secrets of the sea, cannot be seen. Translated, this means that when the dolphin heard, it means it saw. This means that in this case, the hearing is an eye. So, in the sea, it heard means it saw. This means that the hearing is the true seeing of the soul. In the hearing is concealed the true seeing of the soul. Of course, in time, I will explain to you something deeper in the Taoist teaching, because the person must not stop till this moment. Because according to the Taoists, the person must not listen with the ear, but with the heart, then even deeper with the fine energy of the heart, and finally to hear through Tao with the spirit of things. So the matter is much deeper. But here, because we are speaking of the dolphins, I stop here. With everything that I am saying about the dolphins, I am not saying that all of them are right. Last time I pointed out some things about their life, that there is reasonable word. People who work with the reasonable word and become sons of Tao. The spiritual powers of the soul, according to the dolphins, they reached this conclusion, and it is very important, are more supreme than the words and word. So, if we must go much more inward, here is a deep truth. The spiritual powers of the soul are more supreme than the words and than the word. This is why no holy scripture is able to express that, which the soul feels, because it is inexpressible. It cannot be contained within any holy book, because it is deeper than any measure of the holy books. The mere powerlessness of words and of the word to express the depth of the soul shows in itself that there existed another kind of language, which is deeper and more expressive, and that this language is not composed of words and of sentences, but of the emanated fine states of the soul and its boundless internal riches, and that the dolphin has drawn close to this language. As I said before, the dolphin symbolizes the impetus towards one more internal world, and this means that people must pass through many sufferings and tears in order to reach the depth of their soul. The dolphin, as I told you before in previous lectures, is of one proto-old humankind. The dolphin has walked a very long way. It has battled evil greatly, and finally it succeeded. It succeeded to turn the evil nature into its inner shining, into its joy, into its paradise. And in the end, I will finish with this idea, the main idea, which the dolphins understood. The matter is of self-renunciation, is that the secret of self-renunciation is not a matter of techniques and of practices, but is a matter of a profound understanding of the soul. This is a process of the soul, and not of the mind. And if some want to go deeper than I have into the secret life of dolphins, I will give them just one rule. in order to understand the secret life of dolphins, a peculiar type of energy and alignments from another world are necessary. 3rd of December 1997. Excerpt from The White Horse. First idea for contemplation. In the Taoist teaching, it is said that the white horse is not a horse. It is a being of the non-being. It is not an earthly reality. According to the Taoists, the power of the white horse consists in this, that it responds to the boundless. When the person takes root in the boundless, they can become noble. While the dolphin symbolizes seeking the secrets in the underwater depths, the horse seeks the secrets in the boundlessness. For this reason, the white horse is already not a horse. It is transformed in the invisible world as one luminous energy. Both the horse and the dolphin have understood that the true sacrifice is a process inward. This means that whoever seeks external ways will not ripen for the way of Tao, and they will not ripen for the shining of the colour white, because this shining comes from the inside. 2nd of December 1998. Excerpt from the Three Beasts lecture. This lecture is a bit more difficult, a bit heavier. It is connected to the Bible. Some time ago, I had started speaking to you about the beast, and I hinted to you that in the Bible it is spoken of 3 beasts. Today we shall speak of the 3 beasts, and in the end we will finish with the secret way of the disciple, which is connected to this. Next year we shall continue with this matter too, because it is one of the deepest ones. On a biblical level, it has never been made clear, and it shall never be explained. In the churches, they do not speak on this matter, because there is no depth there. To understand these secrets of the 3 beasts, in occultism, it is rarely spoken. But despite everything, the Master allows to speak gradually, little by little, because this is a heavy matter. The disciple will have a big battle with these beasts. These 3 beasts are aimed towards the disciples of the White Brotherhood especially. The first beast, which the Bible describes, consists of the following. This being is red. It is the principle of evil and of violence. This being, namely, is the snake of olden times, which seduced the first people. The second being, this is the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns. This being is connected to the blackest secrets of the sea. All seas and oceans, all the cruelty which is in them, are directly connected to this being. All kinds of sharks, all kinds of beings of this type, killer whales, etc., are connected to the blackest secrets of the sea. Unlike the dolphins, who are servants of the White Brotherhood and disciples of the White Brotherhood, beings who have understood the law of sacrifice very deeply. 6th of July 1999. Excerpts from Atlantis and the Way of Disintegration. Lecture. During the time of Lemuria, black magic was in the power of its astral bloom, and in Atlantis, in its material external bloom. The power of black magic in Lemuria was so strong that it even penetrated into the centre of the earth. This is why the Master says that the centre of the Black Brotherhood is there. Consequently, a mighty fiery eruption ruptured Atlantis to pieces because of the black magic. And later, this same concealed fire sent Atlantis to the bottom of the ocean. The matter is of the fourth catastrophe. The third one was very strong. The fourth one was total. The last flood completely wiped out Atlantis and its last inhabitants, around 60 million. Even they began to become corrupted by the black magic. And in the end, black magic was sunk by the all-conquering elemental force of the fire on the inside and of the water on the outside. I shall explain. Black magic was sunk by the all-conquering elemental force of the fire on the inside and by the mighty waves of the secret force of the ocean on the outside. In the occult archives, it is said that this ocean was completely indifferent to evil and to black magic. And this means that a big part of evil was locked away and tied up in the hands of water, in the hands of the oceans and the seas. This is why the Master says that in the water, in the oceans and the seas, the cruelest life is found. Of course, we spoke some time ago that there is also a good side there. Some time ago, we spoke of the secret life of dolphins. But generally, life there is very heavy. In time, we can dwell on the life of sharks too. For example, there are beings there which, with big concentration that they have trained for thousands of years, turn into a rock, into a piece of rock. You sit, you think that this is a rock, and a mouth opens, and you disappear. So, there are beings which have learned all sorts of tricks from the past, demonic beings. Of course, dolphins are saved because of their secret of hearing, because they are servants of the White Brotherhood. These are souls who have descended to help, and a big part of dolphins, not all, have this vigilance, this depth. They hear at big distances, and in the sea, to hear means to see. But in time, if we must, we will speak again on this topic. Excerpt from the Egyptian Physics, 2nd of September 2003. Lecture. The true breathing is with the soul. The true breathing is not with the mouth, nor the nose, but with the soul. By the way, dolphins breathe in this way, but in time we shall speak of them. They possess a secret kind of breathing, which Thoth calls spherical, a very deep kind of breathing, breathing with love, breathing with soul. Where there is love, it is not the nose or the mouth breathing, but it is the soul. 2nd of September 2003. Excerpt from Introduction into Hekau, the Word Light, Lecture. Hekau, this is the sacred language, the sacred speech, the culture of the gods, which was studied secretly in the pyramids. The pure sacred speech is Hekau, sacred land, promised land, virgin land. I want to tell you something of Moses before I continue. He wrote the Genesis in Egyptian. Very few people in the world knew the secret of the hieroglyphs, the pronunciation and the way to inscribe them. In time, it was translated to Chaldean, Babylonian, Aramaic, Ancient Persian, Greek, Roman, Latin. From the beginning, almost no one is able to translate from Egyptian, even Moses. He only wrote something, as far as the priests uncovered to him something of the secret of the hieroglyphs. This means that in the present moment the Bible is written in such a way that simply if one person who knows reads it, they cannot recognize it. There is no real translation. If any of you are seeking one, there are medium translations by great initiates, Kabbalists, who know the secrets of translation. But still, medium translations, the meaning is still concealed. Because in the meaning there is something that each one must find themselves, of course. If they are a seeker of truth, so all pretense regarding translations, you better leave them aside and better take up seeking the truth. Life within love, within pure actions, so that you can afterwards understand that the human spirit, macabre, is the Bible. And besides that, it surpasses the Bible. The human spirit is able to write such things. Not only the human spirit even, the supreme soul in the person can experience such things, which even the sacred word cannot utter. I am not speaking only of the Bible. I have one book, the sacred book of all peoples. So, all holy languages cannot express the states, the depths of the supreme sacred soul. There comes a moment in which the words, including the sacred words, fall away. This is the science of speechlessness. So whoever masters Hekau, the science of speaking, of the sacred word, of control over every word, they will later be led into speechlessness, the primordial language, the language of the gods, the language of God, a language which the dolphins understood too. They also wield this language, and they wield many things. They live on, Sirius. They come from there, and they are going there. They are beings from Sirius, very advanced, but this is another topic for another lecture. 6th of July, 2004. Excerpt from The Occult Wisdom of the Atlanteans. Introduction. Lecture. In Atlantis, people changed their consciousness. This is why now people of very different levels live here, with very different degrees of consciousness, numerous degrees of consciousness. From then until now, there have been many degrees of the fall of consciousness until we have reached the level of the third dimension. In the Bible, this is called by the simple words of the fall. Along the way of the fall, we have lost Hekau, of which we spoke, i.e. the sacred word, the life essence of things. We have lost our divinity, and we have reached so far as to feed on fallen energies, now called air, food, water, and so on. But on the other hand, through these energies we can return. If we purify them within ourselves, if we take them in correctly, we can return. If a person breathes Hekau, i.e. their pure essence, then according to the Atlanteans, they will have completely different perceptions of reality. According to the Toltecs, then reality will raise them, will change them, will return them. Hekau is the living bread which was lost in Atlantis. I will say this differently. When a person has lost the connection to Hekau, i.e. the connection to God, they have changed both their breathing and their thinking. This means that they perceive a completely different reality. When they have fallen from the pure word, they are already breathing completely different air, and they have a completely different way of thinking. This means that they are perceiving another second reality. The person has forgotten how they were created, as reality, creation, and after their fall they have started to breathe through their nose and mouth, instead of how dolphins breathe, with their soul. Dolphins breathe in the true, original way. Breathing through the nose and mouth means that you cannot find reality. This is shallow breathing. This is another way of thinking. The ones who breathe in such a way, the Atlanteans call them people with a stricken consciousness, which is a heritage from Atlantis, but from the fourth subrace, the Turanians, from the person's agreement with them, with this race. Back then, the person has signed a contract with them to serve them, and this is what has diverted them. 5th of April 2005. Excerpt from the Toltecs. Lecture. Toltecs say, within us is concealed the seed of the magical bird, the bird of freedom. The warrior knows that each right act increases the freedom, and regarding the Toltec of the third attention, they embody within themselves the ancient knowledge about the dragons. The knowledge about the dragons is an expression of the most deeply concealed true nature of the person. When the Toltecs of the third attention accumulate energy through one specific control of their consciousness, they attain one peculiar kind of energy. So, not the one which fate or stars have given to them, but an additional, other kind of energy, through which they create for themselves a fiery space. I will only add here that the warrior must practice impeccability for a very long time, until they become a Toltec, i.e. they must wage battles for a very long time, for their transfiguration, until they reach the release of the most concealed internal energy, which with the Toltecs is called dragon wolf. Toltecs of the third degree are called dragon wolf. As I told you, we shall speak more about them, because they are exceptional beings. They are not lost in the encyclopedia. There is general talk, but both the dragon and the wolf are sacred animals. In them there is very deep wisdom. If we can understand them, like with the dolphins, time ago we spoke much about the dolphins. They are most deeply observed in Egypt. They are called Ka in Egyptian. This means dolphin. They have a very deep history, a very deep wisdom. They know the secret knowledge of the ocean, of the water, and they transmit these to the planetary spirit in such a fine way, which science is not able to comprehend at all. And the planetary spirit gathers this knowledge for the future of humankind. Dolphins are one of the successful attempts in the world, unlike the mermaids, the centaurs, the Amazonians, of which I will tell you some things later on. 2nd of August 2005. Excerpt from The Mermaids lecture. The word Ka in Egyptian means the enlightened dolphins. Truly, they have attained enlightenment. 6th of December 2005. Excerpt from Jacob Boehme lecture. On the other hand, Toltecs work on a very, very high level, the biggest culture, which has been attained. Toltecs had many gatherings mutually with the ancient cats. The ancient cats chose which child would become a true priest, because the ancient cats were able to read the aura and to know the secret energies within children. All children whom the cats chose became true priests. During that time, the dolphins were people and walked the earth. Over time, the land did not appeal to them, and they returned into the water. A small part of them remained on land and continued to interact with the dolphins in the water. In this way, between the land and the water, connections are maintained. But then we will speak of many such things. How the animals were in big progress when they interacted with the Toltecs. Later we shall speak of the Proto-Turanians as well, who are now also found on Earth. Their core reincarnates. The peak of black magic was there. It is now lost. They reincarnate later as a core in the Mongolian race, and now they are incarnated in Tatars and Chechens, but their power is now much, much more decreased. But when we speak in detail about the secrets of Atlantis, of its races and their language, then we shall speak with more detail. 2nd of October 2007. Excerpt from Atl. Second idea for contemplation. Atl is a word of the Toltecs, in the language Nahua. In their language, it means water. Water is, say the Toltecs, an ancient observer of human development. People sometimes think that they are observing the sea, but the water is observing them. They sometimes think that they are making experiments with the dolphins, not knowing that dolphins are making experiments. While the person even thinks of the dolphin's thought is 16 times quicker. It has already weighed so many things, like the cat, that it is already too late. The person is simply so late, and even their outlooks are very, very limited. The person is simply very slow. But this is another topic. Of the dolphins we shall speak another time. Water is an ancient observer of human development. It has concealed reason within itself. This is why the more water that a person drinks, the more reason they have. Besides this, water, I shall add here, has this ability. I am reminded to clear the karmic remnants in the person, which helps against karma as well. Atl, or the water, has a silent mission. It, the water, is eternal and tireless. It is mysteriously connected to the primordial energy. Toltecs say it is the beginning of all being. It is also the mother of all being. What does water know about us? Much more than we think, because externally it is life, but internally it is energy, an energy of the spirit, descended energy. Water cleanses the beings as an ancient mother. It purifies, awakens, and clarifies things within the person. Water is an emissary of the eagle. It rearranges the world and people in its own way. It is a part of the sacrament of the eagle, a part of the primordial force of nature of God. Those who have observed the large waterfalls, Victoria, Niagara, of course, from a spiritual point of view, were amazed by the force of nature of the water. And not like with the Scottish regret about this water, because there was no economy. It was too non-economical. Of course, the most economical Scotsman is the dead Scotsman. This is another matter. When the water died, it became, say the Toltecs, earth. To drink pure water, this is a special symbol, because this pure water is a liberated energy, which is taken by the spirit in us, and it embarks with it on a way towards God, on a way towards the eagle. See how the thought of the Toltecs works. There is such a Boehme formula. O you, ancient, sacred, and fast river, take my illness away into the sea. This is one Boehme formula. You enter into the water and very sincerely pray that the water takes away the illness. And if you are sincere, it will work. If you are not sincere, a lot of water must pass, and this is another matter. Dolphins, as I told you before, are people relocated into the water. They have a very deep point of view regarding water. I will just briefly say something here. Further, we will examine it more deeply. They have a much deeper point of view than the person, not only regarding water, but in this case regarding water. As I said, dolphins are transformed people, and this is said not by just anyone, but by the ancient Thoth, Hermes. He says dolphins are transformed by the secret power of the Netia, i.e. by the secret power of God, transformed into dolphins. Dolphins are simply sea people, water people. Even when they were on land, they loved water a lot. They loved to bathe much more than the ordinary person, because in the water they know that there is a presence of the ancient energy, a presence of God. They know that water is simply an energy of God, and not some water, not some oxygen and atoms. Whoever drinks H2O, they do not know what they are drinking. Whoever drinks the energy of God with that ancient feeling, they draw spirit from the water, both life and spirit, etc. And because they know that this is the energy of God, in this water they become calm. For them, the land was simply very dry. Simply, the land is dry. Water, for them, is an ancient idea, an ancient memory, and it reminds us of this, that some time ago we lived according to them, in the energy of God, which some call paradise. Some time ago we lived in the energy of God, in this ancient being, whom they called ocean. On the other hand, this is simply another name of the abyss, an ocean. Water is the substitute of God on earth, because without it, as you know, both religions and culture, everything will dry up. 5th of August, 2008. Excerpt from The Third Race, Lemuria, Occult History, Lecture. Let me come back. The Lemurian consciousness is very slow to suffer, very slow to perceive, very slow to rejoice, very slow to think and to feel. The same way as the person is slow in comparison to cats and dolphins. The cat walks by, glances at you, and it has weighed up so many things in you, and it has even forgotten, while you have barely begun to think. The dolphin thinks 16 times quicker. It is a being from Sirius. The person has barely begun to think. It is not even known if there is a thought and half-thought. And the cat has already weighed you up. It has forgotten, and it already lives in another world. I have spoken to you about cats and dolphins. In time, we may say some things again. 1st of September, 2015. Excerpts from Atlantis. Lecture. Water originated from a word of the eagle, And this word is Atul. I will tell you of this word, which is more than a word. And so the word Atul, water, means that the Atlanteans were bringers of the true life. For the Atlantean priests, this is an ancient word, an ancient speech of the eagle, i.e., of the boundlessness. This is an epistle of the eagle. Be truth for others. Later, the word Atlanteans originated from there as well. Be truth for others. Be water for others. And, said another way, be life for others, so that they may flow towards their source, according to the first race of the Atlanteans, Remo-a-Hali. We have spoken of them previously. The first race is one of the deepest of Atlantis. According to them, the word water means a tutoring about the way towards the abyss, about the way towards the boundlessness. They say, to stand against the water means to stand against the unknown. By the way, let me tell you that it is not the water which flows. Water does not flow. What flows within it is the energy. If the energy exits, the river dries up, or the wellspring dries up, and it is gone. What flows is the descended energy. If the water had not descended, say they, beings would have begun to die on the inside. Remo-a-Hali say that the water is a sacrificed feather of the wing of the eagle, i.e., a part of the essence of God, descended to lead people. The Master says that the word water is olden, and it originates from the root to lead, leader. It leads people, and so the word Atul, or water, an emissary of the eagle, and it is something which rearranges the face of the earth. It is a great master. At the time of the first subrace of Atlantis, the dolphin was a person who walked on foot, but when they saw the water, say, Remo-a-Hali, it happened during that time. This wondrous force of nature, the person became drunk. They firmly decided to live in the water and to swim. Later, the Toltecs called the dolphins sea people. And this truly is so. For millions of years, water is with us. In it, there is something of the proto-language. In the concealed world, the word Atul means flowing light. But here, on earth, water is something a bit different. Flowing energy, and the body of this energy is the water. The external body of this energy is the water. That which flows in the water is the ability of the energy. Of course, there is another kind of water, the stale water, but the Toltecs say this is the ill, sick, dirtied water, the swamp. But the swamp, say they, this is the agony of water, Remo-a-Hali. And the Toltecs had a completely different, secret gaze of the water. I will explain. According to Remo-a-Hali, Halley. The flood is something exceptionally beautiful because it is a returning into the wing of the eagle, the place of life. And according to the Toltecs, they call the flood the embrace of the eagle, the hour of reveling, the hour of truth. They also call it the embrace of life. Such is the approach they had. But it comes from their impeccability, because they have exercised for thousands of years in impeccability. They have an entirely different perception. For them, the flood is not a flood, because they have impeccability, which comes from the tutoring of the gods. This means that impeccability gives birth to another gaze, another acceptance, another perception. The Master calls it the flood, simply a baptism in water, a huge baptism in water, without the interference of earthly powers. Supreme forces are working, and whoever knows how to meet this is born again. And so every Toltec is an ancient heart descended from the water, the unsullied light, because the original meaning is unsullied light. This is a way of thinking which comes from another kind of order. Those who have a wrong worldview. They perceive the flood as a fall and as punishment. This worldview gives birth to having no way out, but the impeccable one sees the other reality. The impeccable one discovers within themselves the seeing, which is a part of God, because the eagle grants them a part of his eyes. And the sinful one sees themselves. They have no other gaze. It is not given to them. They have no additional eyes. Only love towards the eagle grants additional eyes. They, the sinful one, see themselves. They see in the Atlantean language, mitoti, which means chaos and disorder. Because they have lived in this way, they have sought this. This is what they see. And so the ordinary seeing is a lie. It is the fall of the person. Said another way, the dead ones will always die, and the impeccable ones will always return. According to the Toltecs, the tutoring in impeccability is the creator of the bridge through which one crosses over the world. The tale of Atlantis is universal, and it will always exist, because it is a teaching of impeccability, something true towards which only the purified ones strive, only the ones who have a true aim and awareness. Everything is preserved in the temple of the pure heart, say the Toltecs. In it there is memory of ancient events, i.e. no archaeology, no digging. In this heart there is concealed memory, and it only needs to remember. I will explain. The pure heart has a memory deeper than any archaeology. It does not dig. It remembers. It is a living temple. It has written down everything within itself, but without impeccability and a complete purity of the heart, we cannot speak of true memory. There are other memories there. 6th of September 2016. Excerpt from The Swan, third idea for contemplation. And in the end, I will tell you something. I have spoken to you before about dolphins. I will add a bit. Often, at the seaside, many people who have drowned, the so-called drowned ones, are cast out by the water in the morning. And people say, the water brought them out. But the Master says, no, the dolphins bring them out to the shore. Why? Because another time I will explain in more detail how it happened in Atlantis, how the dolphins saw for the first time the secret of the water in the first race of Atlantis, and they were in awe. They desired that they become dolphins, and God turned them, and since then they are called sea people. But here I only want to say that the dolphins, because they love people a lot, they love the human form, they love the soul of the person, and they bring the drowned ones out to the shore so that people can bury them. 3rd of September 2019. Excerpt from Zen Wisdom, Lecture 3. To the ones who have chosen the way gives its power, its lightness and its perception, its understanding. We can call this a deep feeling and a deep sense, like it is with the dolphins. The dolphins are beings of the very deep sense. Excerpt from Atlantean Aphorisms, Volume 3. One of the most favourite beings of the Atlanteans were the dolphins. They gave them secret intel of the sea. In Atlantis, a part of education was the communion with flowers, friendship with birds, communion with beasts, sensing the concealed life in the rocks, and other secret things on earth. Children in Atlantis were able to sense the incoming storm very early on, or the invasion of a dangerous group of animals, and in this way they hid in their homes behind the thick stone walls. Excerpt from Ancient Shards from the Unuttered Wisdom of the 22nd Elder, Aviroha Tahariya, by Eleazar Harash. This voice has an I within itself. If Daraha decides to appear to you, you shall hear the clear speech. This voice is clarity itself. It is composed of divine simplicity. This wise simplicity guides everyone. This voice is wondrously unforgettable. It has the ability to spread its fragrance within you for a long time. This voice has within itself an eye, a supreme eye, which sees even the slightest detail. This eye is hearing. It is the temple of Daraha. This is why it has been said of dolphins, to hear, this means to see. Excerpt from In the Temple of the Master, Volume 1. I have passed through millions of forms, but I have tried love in all its forms. 16:31:31. I have passed through millions of forms. The person is obliged to come to know the essence of love. The angel is an angel when they come to know the essence of love as light. The essence of love with the bee is honey itself. The essence of the dolphin is in this. When it comes to know the secrets of the sea, the essence of the person is in this. When they reach self-knowing, I have passed through all this, and I have renounced all of this. For me, The essence is in knowing God. Love is the greatest and most dangerous depth. Not anyone is able to swim through its essence. I managed to swim through it, and this is why I am now speaking to you. Love is the cosmic circle of the universe. Everyone must suffer it and swim through it in order to return to me. This is asked of my disciples. Excerpt from A Book of Secrecies, compiled by Eleazar Harash, from the word of the Master Briensa Duno, commentaries by Eleazar Harash. Sirius and Alpha Centaurus. Of Sirius it is said that it is found further away from the earth than Alpha Centaurus. This is proved by the time necessary for its light to arrive to earth. 3 years are necessary while the light of Alpha Centaurus reaches the earth, and for the light of Sirius more time is necessary. 37, page 161. Odd beings live on Alpha Centaurus, and great beings live on Sirius. The core of the reasonable beings on Alpha Centaurus research the strange things in the world and in the other world. They research odd and dark things. They research the world of mists of all kind, both physical and spiritual. They study the world of swamps and why certain beings have been locked inside the swamps. They study the world of darkness and what the way out of it is. But it has not been given to them to penetrate into the biggest secret of the dark, because they do not yet have the ability to penetrate into the depth of the dark. For them, this will happen in other times and epochs, while on Sirius great gods and masters live. Many of them have reached the bottom of the dark, and this is why they are now able to secretly penetrate into many worlds without being noticed. These great beings are great observers. Their disciples are even the dolphins. Sometimes they make their disciples descend as dolphins into the seas and oceans, and the most advanced dolphins give them secret intel and knowledge about the invisible life in the water. Communicating with people, dolphins study the human world as well, and all of this they pass on to their masters. Dolphins are beings for whom death is of no matter, because they easily separate from the body, and even though they live in the water, and even though they have lived as people on the land, they are, before all else, beings of the air. For now, their favourite activity remains contemplation. They are spiritual contemplators.